Hi, my name is Chris, and welcome to the Film Lounge, a web series that explores some of the basic techniques and approaches of modern cinema. In this new season, we are looking at the building and constructing of your own film. In this episode, we shall be looking at ways to create the perfect opening shot. But before we do that, let's look at how Hollywood loves to do a prologue. Now, a prologue is like a short film that precedes the rest of the movie. You'll have seen prologues in Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises. The Fast and Furious films have been doing these for the last few movies, along with the new Star Trek films. Of course, no film series does the prologue better than the James Bond series. The Bond films always begin with the tail end of Bond's current mission or side mission. The scene has a clear beginning, middle, and end, and there's action, tension, and adventure all in the opening few minutes of the film. But ultimately, it's like its own mini-film. Bond movies will open with the 007 musical cue of trumpets, and then we will find ourselves in either an exotic or high-end location, where Bond will enter and ultimately disrupt the established order of his surroundings. This can mean a foot chase, car chase, bike chase, boat chase, sometimes all of these things in one. He might be smashing into things, smashing through things, or just blowing things up. Regardless of circumstances, these prologues exist to remind longtime fans of what a badass James Bond is, and new fans to the series of how the character likes to operate. At the end of the day, a prologue sets the tone for a movie, and in the case of James Bond films, sometimes the budget for just a prologue could fund several smaller independent films. So, when creating your film, it's always important to consider your first shot. It will be the first thing your audience sees, and it serves to set the mood and tone of your film. Classic movies like Apocalypse Now can open with some beautiful scenery of lush vegetation, only to be destroyed in a ball of fire, setting a tone of war, death, and destruction that is to come later. Or, there is the beautifully poetic imagery of Martin Scorsese's Raging Bull, where we see slow-motion shadowboxing in a darkly lit ring. Such a powerfully beautiful opening shot shows us just how tragic a story we are about to witness of the once real-life boxer, Jake LaMotta. Of course, the cowboy classic The Searchers establishes the world of the Western by beginning in darkness and then revealing the world of the film by opening a door, and taking us through that door and into the open expanse of the wild frontier to reveal our hero approaching the audience. Of course, no film better encapsulates the perfect opening shot than the original Star Wars movie, all the way back in 1977. Now look, I'm not going to labor on what Star Wars is. I'm pretty sure everyone knows what Star Wars is. It's a famous tale of a young boy joining a rebellion to fight a galactic empire, saving a princess who he doesn't realize is his sister, and blowing up a planet-destroying superstation because someone forgot to cover up an exhaust shaft. Or did they? Of course, if you've watched Rogue One, then you know that wasn't an accident. But anyway, look, you know what? I'm getting sidetracked. Star Wars became a pop cultural phenomenon that spawned a multi-billion-dollar franchise and merchandising behemoth. However, back in 1977, no studio wanted to touch the series. And why would they? It was a massive science fiction epic that was being sold as a 9-part saga, written by a relatively unknown director who hadn't produced anything that really warranted such a big risk. Rejected by every studio, Lucas eventually made a deal with 20th Century Fox, who only agreed to make the 4th film in his planned series. Lucas accepted their offer, but was smart enough to ask for the merchandising and licensing rights, which included future sequels. 20th Century Fox agreed to this deal because they didn't see it being such a success. However, this cost them literally billions of dollars in the long term. So 20th Century Fox invested $11 million to produce the film, and, well, now we are guaranteed to get a new Star Wars film every year from now until long after our bodies have decomposed in a deep, cold ground. So, let's look at why the opening of Star Wars is such an iconic moment in cinematic history.
sure? This is madness.
So, panning down from the opening title crawl, we see a moon and a planet which is clearly not Earth. We see a spaceship flying into shot, being followed by yet another spaceship. At this stage, we know nothing about the chase, the how, the why, or really the where of it all. But none of that really matters, because this is the biggest and boldest shot ever committed to screen when this film first came out in 1977. As an audience, we had never seen a ship so large. The fact that it just kept scrolling further and further into the shot like it was never going to end is awe-inspiring. It also makes a huge statement about what we're about to watch. A gigantic space opera of epic proportions. The planets and the spaceships all establish a genre. The music reinforces the epic scale of the spaceships, and we are also given a clear insight into the conflict. Visually, the small ship represents the rebellion, a small underdog being chased by the Empire, a Goliath in size and magnitude. This is the perfect setup for what would be the biggest science fiction saga of all time. As far as opening shots go, it cannot be stressed enough just how impactful this choice was. Other films have referenced it in their own movies, it's been parodied in film and television, so never underestimate the importance of your opening shot. So, what should we be focusing on this week? Our opening shot. Knowing that you're producing a short 5-minute film, it's important that our first shot perfectly establishes the film that we're going to become invested in. If it's a horror movie, how do we establish we're about to watch a horror? How can the opening shot establish the world of your film, the characters that live in your film, and the potential conflict of your narrative? You can start close on something, your character, a prop, a location, and then pull out to reveal the bigger picture. You can open in the middle of a situation to catch your audience by surprise so that they need to figure out what's actually going on. Or you can open with your final shot and then flash back to your actual story so that the opening and closing shot of your film is bookended in a manner that ties your whole story together. It is up to you how you approach your opening shot, but remember that if your first shot does not catch the audience's attention, then why would they feel any investment, let alone any interest in your film? You need to remember that your first shot needs to set the mood and tone of your film and needs to clearly link to your overall narrative. I look forward to seeing how you set up your first shot. This is Chris Gooch for the Film Lounge, signing off.